Hey, hey, hey! Welcome, 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 Dream Maniacs. I am your host today, Alicia Couri, coming to you live here on Facebook with another episode of Audacious Confidence on Dramaniac TV. You're here, I'm here, it's all good. So I'm your red carpet CEO, and I'm here to influence, educate, inspire, and entertain you so you can step into your own audacious confidence and live more, have more, do more, and be more, and live the life of your dreams without limits or restrictions. And I want to say, for those of you, it's episode 7. See, I know they would have corrected me at some point during the show today. So welcome to Dramaniac 2.0, sorry. And we are live streaming here off of Studio 2 in BeLive.tv, which is our preferred live streaming partner here on Dramaniac TV. And please, please, please invite someone to watch with you because this show is going to be amazing. Yes, it is. So I'm going to start off by just giving you a little disclaimer about Dramaniac TV, that the thoughts and opinions that are shared by our guests here on Dramaniac TV are of their own and based on their own expertise or experience. We are not doctors. We are not lawyers. We are not here to dispel advice to you. Please seek out your own professional, medical or legal professional for whatever situation you are personally going through. But other than that, we just want you to sit, relax, and be entertained by us. If you have questions, please come on over to facebook.com/DramaniacTV. And that way I can see, I can respond, and we can interact with you because we love to interact with our live audience. And for those of you who are watching us on replay, thank you so very much for tuning in. I know you have a choice of what you could be doing with your time, and we really appreciate you taking the time to watch us on replay here on Dramaniac TV. And for those of you who are watching on any other platform than Facebook, so if you're watching on IGTV, hey, hey, hey. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, hi, hi. And you can also subscribe for more of our shows, more of our content. We have many shows here on Dramaniac TV that we'd love to invite you to join and watch with us. So today's topic on the Audacious Confidence Show is all about, hi, Sebastian, live from Galaxy, somewhere far away. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your Wi-Fi is incredible. Thank you. So today's topic on the Audacious Confidence Show is all around relationships, and specifically around breakups, because sometimes after a relationship breaks up, especially if it's been a long-term relationship, you can have challenges with your confidence after a relationship has ended. And so it's not so much that you're no longer confident in your life, because you could be a strong, confident person generally in life. But then when your heart is broken or something goes wrong in a relationship, you start to ask the questions, what's wrong with me? Did I do something? Could I have done something different? And so the focus now becomes on what went wrong and what part you played in it. And it can shake your confidence in stepping into another relationship, number one, but it can also just shake your confidence in yourself personally and whether or not you're worthy of love. So that's kind of the topic we're going to tackle today. So if you know someone who has broken up with someone recently, not so recently, but their confidence is a little bit shaky after, and you want to help them through this process, please, please, please invite them to watch with you tonight, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions with our amazing guest. And usually if you've watched this show for any length of time, I do my little preamble about what my experience confidence-wise in this area. But I want to skip to our guest as quickly as possible because he is someone who has a wealth of knowledge and experience, much more than I could ever share with you. So I don't want to waste any time in bringing Dr. Keiron Brown on, because let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you a little bit about his bio, but these are his books, and I'm going to try to hold them up and not have them fall. Don't date a psycho. Don't be one. You know, and he has the workbook, Don't Date a Psycho workbook. So listen, this one is Don't Date a Psycho Personality Test to Discover the Real You. So these are amazing. He was on one of our shows before, Women Unleashed, talking to women about not dating a psycho, you know, tips to recognize when that guy is a psycho and to just exit the situation as quickly as possible. But today we're going to talk about relationships, because he has 3 decades of experience when it comes to working with individuals and couples. He is a clinical psychologist, Dr. Keiron Brown, and he has worked on various issues but specializes in relationships since 1990. He has done over 3,000 psychological evaluations, 3,000. So I would say he's an expert. And I would love to welcome to our show tonight, Dr. Keiron Brown. If you can come to the stage, Dr. Brown, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, hello, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to have you back because, well, not on Audacious Confidence, but back on Germaniac TV, because the last time you were here, we were getting so bombarded with so many questions, and everybody was so excited about Don't Date a Psycho, Don't Be One. So my first question really is, what prompted you to write that book?
Well, a number of years ago, I was talking with one of my friends, and we were just kind of laughing and joking about different relationships that we've been in. And then just talking about just how crazy either we or they were, things like that. We're kind of trading stories. And I remember saying to her, it's like, well, you know, it's too bad they don't have a don'tdateapsycho.com to kind of give you a heads up. And I thought, why don't they? So I bought the domain name and started doing some things with that. And I just thought it would be good to write something to let people know that when the heart is at risk, we all do crazy things. You know, the psycho and the don't date a psycho isn't any kind of mental illness. It's anytime we or someone else has made a relationship unsafe or unstable or kind of crazy, I guess. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, because this is not like a diagnosed psycho. This is psycho behavior. This is behavior that is cray-cray. And you don't want to be involved in that, stalking someone or, you know, either physically or online. We don't want to be involved in that at all. So when it comes now to relationships, and how do you recognize, because you've dealt with a lot of relationships, how do you recognize when a relationship just is not working out? What are some of those signs?
They can be various things. Sometimes, you know, when I was growing up, I used to hear, I don't know, songs and I guess popular culture at the time that a relationship is 50-50 and, you know, stuff like that. But as I've gotten older and gotten trained and stuff like that, relationships tend to not be 50-50, and it's probably a good thing. Because that means sort of people would be scorekeeping. Well, I did this for you, you do this for me. Relationships are intended to be dynamic. Sometimes it's 70-30, 20-80, whatever, because people have different things going on at different times. You know, so as long as it goes back and forth like that, and that each person knows that the other has their back, it tends to be pretty good that way. And, you know, have their back in different ways in terms of being respectful, being committed, you know, those types of things. It tends to be a big problem, though, when one person seems to be doing most of the work, or one person does most of the sacrificing or the heavy lifting in the relationship, and the other is just kind of there. That tends to be a problem.
What about in perception-wise? If one person thinks they're doing most of the work, and the other person also thinks they're doing most of the work, and there's that perception of, because they're doing different things, but there's the perception, well, I've done all of this for you.
Yeah, that comes up quite a bit. because each person is offended that the other thinks that they're not carrying their weight, kind of thing. So sometimes it's a matter of them sitting down and talking to each other. But what happens a lot of times with that is they talk at each other and not to each other. So a lot of times when they come and see me, I help them to be able to talk about what it is that they feel that they contribute. And if the other person sees that and recognizes it and acknowledges it and things like that, to help both of them feel valued by the other. And sometimes, sometimes people will do things. It's like, well, I did this for you because I care so much. But the thing that was done isn't what the person needed.
So,
I'm sorry?
Let me talk about, I want to say hi, August. Thank you for joining live from Melbourne, Australia. Woo-hoo!
Wow.
Yes, they are on Amazon. Don't date a psycho, yes. Don't be one. Yes. I want to talk about, because I do want to get into breakups and confidence and everything, but I'm just setting like the foundation here. What about the love languages? How do you see love languages? Because you said, one may not have perceived it as you loving me because you didn't speak my language. Mm-hmm. You spoke your language to me, but you didn't actually speak a language that I could receive as love.
Right. I tend to tell people, give me what I ask for, not what you think I need, kind of thing. With the love languages, I think the book is a really good start, not criticizing the work at all. So it is important in a sense that it lets each person know that this is the way that I receive love. This is the way that I receive the value that you're trying to send me. So it's a really good way to know what my language is, what your language is, things like that. But the thing that I would add to it that I see a lot is to not just restrict it to what's being read in the 5 love languages, because even though there are some languages, every language has a certain dialect. Yeah. So I need to know what my wife wants. I mean, I know what it says in general. I know those things, but it's the nuance, it's the detail that's important, because I don't want her to feel that I'm just overlooking some very important things. I mean, a prime example is it didn't occur to me until like a couple of years ago that my wife's favorite flowers were not roses. I had just kind of assumed
because everybody's supposed to love roses, right?
Because it works on TV and movies. Yeah, that kind of thing. And so it just dawned on me one day to ask her, and sure enough, it was something completely different. So while gifts and gestures of love and affection are really good, it's very, very important to fine tune them to what your partner wants.
I heard I went to a friend's 50th wedding anniversary recently, and one of the guests had stood up. They've known them for a long time, and he said, it's really important for a long relationship is to get your PhD in your partner. So many times we spend so much time going to school and getting all these degrees and everything, but we don't ever really see a relationship as, let's get our PhD in you so that we can have a long-lasting relationship. So anyway.
Yes.
So that's
if I may add to that.
Yes.
It's not only, I think that's a brilliant observation that you get a PhD in your partner, but the only thing I would add to that, education.
Exactly.
Not just a terminal degree, because people's needs change over time. Most people that I know that are 40 have different needs than they had when they were 20. So just as people get older and they change internally, their needs and their values and all those things change too. And it's important for them to keep their finger on the pulse of that. So it's a continuing education kind of thing.
And I think that's why he meant PhD, in the sense that you're going to continue to learn and learn and learn and
Absolutely.
learn. Mm-hmm. So Sebastian had a question. What was that? How do I know I am dating a psycho? It seems I only attract nuts.
Well, if it feels like, for whatever reasons, it feels like that you're not really getting your needs met, or if it's you are going out of your way and you find yourself going out of your way routinely to meet your partner's needs, and then when it's time for you to get your needs met, either there are crickets, there's silence, or it's just not coming back, or there's an argument when it's your time to get your needs met. That is a discrepancy, is an imbalance that just really upsets people. And until it's addressed and resolved, it just gets worse over time. So it just feels like you're the giver, the other person's the taker. And those are the roles that are defined. Anytime any partner does something all the time, it starts to feel like a job. I mean, while a relationship does take work, it shouldn't feel like a job. If I got a job, I'm getting a check. You know, so if it's, but it should be work, but it shouldn't be a job.
Show me the money, yeah. Can you put up the other comment, producer? That is hilarious. So we have a comment coming soon, but what I want to pivot a little bit. But before I do want to remind everybody, my name's Alicia Couri, if you're just joining us, and you are watching the Audacious Confidence Show here on Dramaniac TV. And my guest is Dr. Keiron Brown. And so August is asking, what if I don't even realize I'm the psycho?
Yeah, that's good, because that's a really good question. Because the full title of the book is Don't Date a Psycho, Don't Be One, Don't Date One. Right. So sometimes, people say, well, how do I know if I'm the psycho? What I do, I talk to them. It's like, tell me about your history of relationships. How have they tended to turn out? And a lot of times people don't really realize it, but it's just if you just replace the name of the partner, a lot of people's relationships turn out the same way. Right. And if you find, when you look back, your partners have a lot of similar complaints, like you're so demanding and you're so this and you're so that. If you've heard that time, when it starts to stretch into decades that you've been hearing this, it might be an issue that you might want to look at and see if that's going to continue to be a problem in your relationships.
So I just want to say hey to everyone else who's watching again. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you are watching us on any other page than the Dramaniac TV page here on Facebook, please come on over to Dramaniac TV on Facebook.com so that we can interact with you, because we won't see your comments unless you are here on this page. So I want to say, hey, what other comments do we have, producer, coming up before I move on? Because I want to pivot and move into our topic today. Hi, Marlena. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. And then we have also Parker, hey, live from Adelaide, Australia. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So let's talk about breakups. So breakups can be devastating.
Yes.
How have you experienced when someone comes to you and they're either thinking about breaking up, or let's talk about thinking about breaking up. Mm-hmm. They're in love with someone. How do they go through that process of breaking it off with someone that's unhealthy? And then let's talk about healthy breakup.
Right. Yeah. If someone came to me and they were saying that they were in love with this person, but they're considering ending a relationship, the first thing is to find out why. If they love the person and things are such that they don't want to be with the person that they love, is to find out what some of those reasons are. Most of the time when I talk with people, they tell me about how much they love their partner, and I love him and I love her, and there's all of these things. Something that I've come to the realization about, contrary to what the Beatles say, love is not all you need in a relationship. There are other things that are far more important and far more significant than love, like trust.
I agree.
You trust the person that you are in love with. It tends to be the case that when I've seen people that are looking to end a relationship, especially a long-term relationship with someone that they still care deeply about, it tends to be that there's not a commitment on the other person's part. They're not going in the same direction as the person that's coming to me. There are some trust issues that are going on, sometimes a betrayal of trust of some sort. But just for whatever reason, they're not going in the same direction at the same time. So it tends to be things like that.
Yeah. And then how can you have a healthy breakup?
So, sometimes it's just that that this, or you have a sense that how things are going are just not going to work out in the way that you would like them to, in a way that's meaningful to you. I had a couple one time. One person was just very, very ambitious, and they had a lot of good things going on, and they wanted good things for the couple. and it was great. But they also needed their partner to be somewhat ambitious, somewhat on board at the same time. And so this person just, turned this over and over again in their minds. It's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So what we talked about is that, just to think about it this way, the two of you are connected, like say with a rope, right? The two partners are connected. One person is moving all the way to the right. The other person is tied to a stake in the ground. It doesn't matter how long or the connection is, it can never go farther than just a certain amount. So exactly. Some people, they feel held back by people that they don't have to be exactly matching them in terms of ambition, energy, drive, things like that, but you got to at least be in the same car. You don't both have to be in the front seat.
You read in the same book. You may not be on the same book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel you on that for sure, for sure. Hey, Santosh, thank you so much. Yes, in honor of you, I put back on the red, because as I looked in my closet today, I said, Santosh is going to be watching. I better wear red today. So I'm back in red. So, yeah, and how does the other partner though? So the one coming saying, okay, I love this person, but I really can't see our relationship continuing. How does the other person who may want to stay in that relationship, how do they now handle or move on without the person that they see as their life partner?
Right. It's difficult, because sometimes I've heard people say that, well, if you love me, then you'd stay with me. But that's like saying, if you love me, you would stay grounded in exactly the same spot that I'm in now. That's a difficult thing. Sometimes, people just have a hard time. They know, or they feel that they can't necessarily provide what their partner wants. And a lot of times the person no one likes to get left. No one wants to be the person left behind. And that's what it feels like, your experience for them.
Right.
Sometimes they'll try to change and they'll try to adapt and they'll try to move, but it needs to be an intrinsic change, a meaningful change, an internal change. Otherwise, it's superficial and it's not going to last. It's like the difference between acting nice and being nice. You can act nice under certain conditions, but if you are a nice person, you're just that way naturally. So it's not an effort. But when somebody is just trying to please another person and it doesn't have any kind of personal connection to them, it's not going to last. And they feel like they failed, or they feel like people keep leaving me. They feel abandoned a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's what destroys your confidence. So Santosh says, I did date a psycho, but thank God I found my true love instead. So yay, good thing that you were able to get off from the psycho and get into where you needed to be. So I want to remind everybody, please, 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 I know you are watching because people are whispering in my ear and telling me that you're watching on all these pages on Facebook. Please come on over to facebook.com/DramaniacTV. It is going across on the crawler right now below us. So please come on over to say hi and comment and ask your questions of Dr. Keiron Brown, who is here. He is a clinical psychologist. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Specifically, he specializes in relationships. So now for the person who was left, because typically the leaver is the one who his confidence is up there. They are going somewhere. They know they're going. They know they needed to get out of this relationship, and they're good. They're cool. Typically. But for the one who was left, and then how do they said and Sebastian, and then Santosh gave birth to a psycho, me. Okay, yes, she did. So how do they begin to pick up the pieces of their lives now, their confidence, and start being awesome again?
It's tough. I always let the folks know when that's going on with them is that they ought to grieve it. It is a passing of something, it's a passing of the relationship, and to not think that, oh, well, that's all. people on the front end feel like, oh, I don't need that anyway, and then they just, feel like they
Right.
can just discard everything.
Oh,
But that's usually false bravado. Exactly. But I just tell them to take their time and really feel what they're feeling, as much as they might try to avoid it or whatever, or deaden it in some way. But to feel what they're feeling and then try to process what happened. Because sometimes, the natural thing is, what did I do? Or what didn't I do? And sometimes it really isn't the person that's left, it's the person who left. Or sometimes it's just one of those things, as unsettling as that might be. Sometimes it's just not under anyone's control. So in order to get their confidence back, sometimes I'll just have them process, the relationship, the ups and the downs. When people are, especially the ones who get left or who are left behind or who are the one that was broken up with, when they think back on the relationship, when they think back on the partner, they tend to think about only the good things. They tend to think about, oh, and I remember when we used to laugh and joke about this, and we used to watch that all the time, and this was our favorite song. We went to that restaurant, things like that. And not to be not to be like a Debbie Downer kind of thing, but what I have them do to kind of help them see the past relationship more realistically, I tell them, now tell me about some of the problems that you had, because that was just as real as the fun, great stuff, the good times. Yeah, because I don't think in 30 years I've ever seen a relationship that was all bad or one that was all good.
Right.
So that
ups and downs.
Right, there are ups and downs, the natural way of things. But when people look back on the relationship that just ended, or sometimes relationship that ended 20, 30 years ago, they only tend to look at the one part, and they grieve and they miss and they long for that great thing that they used to have. And sometimes they feel like, I'll never find that again. And, and I've seen people truly, truly take that to heart. And I tend to ask them, it's like,
close the door
right.
on opportunity.
Right. And to kind of help them get a more realistic picture of it, I'll ask them how many times they've loved someone. And typically, if they're above the age of 25, they've had several relationships, right? So just as each one of those was somebody that they were very close to, that ended for whatever reason it ended, and another one came along, to let them know this is not the end of the line. It's simply a step.
Yeah.
And everything that's ever happened to them brings them to where they are now. And every relationship, every fight, every argument, every bouquet of flowers, everything is a step. Nobody makes a home on a step. A step is merely a conveyance to take you from one place to another in your life. You're not living in a stairwell.
Right.
So I let them know that this is not the end. This is simply another step.
Another step. And so how's the process for once they've gone through that grieving, once they've seen the relationship for what it is and that it truly was not going anywhere anymore, because you just really didn't want the same things anymore. So they've gone through the grieving process. What next helps them rebuild? Because a lot of times there's a lot of blame, a lot of shame, a lot of, well, you did this, I did this, or I wasn't enough kind of thing. Maybe if I was better or if I did this more, they would have stayed or they would have loved me. So how do you get that kind of self-talk, that kind of out of their head to move forward and start looking at themselves as, oh yeah, I am something. I deserve more. I deserve better.
Yeah, I let them know that nobody has any absolute control over another human being. We fight with ourselves internally sometimes to do this thing or that thing. So, and sometimes we lose and sometimes we win. But it's, if we have that kind of internal distress and tension and back and forth, of course, we're going to have it with other people. So one of the things that I want them to do is to feel empowered. So the very first question I ask them is, what do you want in a relationship? And it's surprising how many people have not really thought that. They thought, well, I want someone to go to the movies with, I want someone to go to the dinner, and I want this, and I want that. Yeah. Those are activities.
Yeah.
What do you actually want the relationship to be? What kind of partner do you want? What kind of partner do you want to be in the relationship?
But what does
think about the relationships
mean for you?
What does
partnership even mean to you?
Exactly.
Sometimes
Exactly.
you have a completely different idea of what partnership means than the person you're with, and you've never had that conversation, and you're expecting them to be one way, and they're not, and they're expecting you to be one way, and you're not, and there's that conversation of what exactly do you see partnership as? So yeah,
Right.
what do you want out of a relationship, truly?
Right. And people, you know, one of the things I try to help them, instead of them feeling like they're in this desert and now they're alone because the relationship ended, it's not a desert, it's a platform. Right. So it's an opportunity for you
Wow.
to do something different now. So the metaphor that I use, it's a launch pad. Right. That's all
Yeah.
this period of time is. It's a launch pad. When a rocket is on a launch pad, the only reason that that thing is there is to give it something to push against, right? And then it goes up and it goes to the stars and it does all those other things. It's never meant to be that way forever, you know?
Wow.
So this is an opportunity for you to decide what you want, where you want to go, where you want to be, what you want to be. Are there any things that you did in a relationship that you felt like wasn't right or wasn't good or this or that? You have an opportunity now that in the next one, you can rewrite your own script.
Rewrite it. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. Hey there. So that is really great. I love that. Never heard that before. That you're where you are standing at that moment is a launch pad. You know, I've heard so many people when they break up say, "Oh, I'll never marry again, or I'll never be with someone else again. That's it for me." And they're young. I mean, well, young is a relative term, but
younger.
they still have a whole lot of life left in them, and they're like closing the door to a relationship because they've been burned by someone. And
right, and I kind of, and you know what I do, I feel for them and I feel with them, and we talk about it, right? And I just kind of break it down to the numbers for them. It's like, you know, there's 7 billion people on this planet. You only know a couple, right? But the people that you know, the person, relatively speaking, you don't know a couple people. But the person that you're in a relationship with, you didn't always know them.
Right.
It might feel like when we're in our romantic mode, oh, I don't remember a time without you. Yeah, you do. It was 2 years ago because y'all were together for like a year. You do remember that, you know? So yeah, it feels like I've always been with you, but we all know that's not true, right? So the thing is, there was a time when you didn't know this person, right? So you existed prior to Bob, right? So you and Bob were together. You and Bob had a thing. You and Bob don't have a thing anymore. But you know what? There's a Tim out there, or there's a whoever out there, because you didn't always have that. But you'll have something else. And not to be flippant about it or anything like that, but sometimes to help people understand it really is not figuratively or literally the end of the world, that there are more opportunities for you to have more of what you want.
Yeah. So I want to really make a shift right here because I know you counsel couples and individuals. Yes. But how do you help them navigate, especially if it's a marriage that breaks up and there are children involved? How do you help the kids keep their confidence through that process? Because they feel like they have to side with one or the other. Is there anything, hey, Carol, good evening, that you help the parents talk to their children about through that process as well?
Yes, I tend to. I help the parents to understand that even if they don't stay together, they're still parents. That identity doesn't change. You know, I've gotten less in the last bunch of years of parents trying to get the one child to turn against the other parent, and
I think
that still helps them to understand the only person it's really going to hurt is the child, because now they're being put in the middle of something, you know? So I help the parents understand that for the sake of your children and how they view relationships as they grow up, and then relationships, that has a lot to do with how you handle this. So if you handle this
Yeah.
like people and not savages, and you're trying to
And
hurt
not
each other
psychos.
at every turn,
Not
remember
psychos.
that you have kids. Because if you handle this in a decent way and a kind way,
In a mature,
talk to your
loving
children
way.
that we're not going to be together, in a mature way and a loving way, that we're not going to be together, but it does not change how we feel about you. Because we care so much about you, we're going to do this in the best way that's going to be comfortable for you, and things like that. Because the kids have to be taught by the parents that sometimes things don't work out, and just because they don't work out, it doesn't mean that everything is going to go to pot.
Right.
That there is an other side to a breakup.
And the thing too is, I think a lot of people forget that at one point they were very much in love. And so just because things aren't working out, why do we have to go to war and create this situation that causes our children to be hurt and be really devastated by the whole process? So everyone involved needs to treat each other with love and respect, even through that process.
Absolutely.
So, oh my gosh, this is a lot of great information. So hopefully you guys are joining us. Come on over to facebook.com/DreamManiac TV. Also, my guest is Dr. Keiron Brown, and we are talking about rebuilding your confidence after a breakup. He is a relationship expert here in South Florida, woo, woo, right in my backyard. So what I know, we've talked in the little promo, we talked about, one of your clients in particular, because one of the things too that people don't understand, and I alluded to it when I was introducing you, before I introduced you, is that you could be so confident in a lot of areas in your life, but then when it comes to relationships or even approaching a breakup or after a breakup, you're completely at a loss. You could be that type A personality driver everywhere else in your life, and then when it comes to your relationships, you're just like, a chicken.
Well,
I don't know.
You're not a chicken. You're just more vulnerable. You're just more vulnerable when it comes to the heart, right? Because if you think about it, if you're doing a relationship a healthy way, it's just you and your partner, right? But in most people's jobs, they have coworkers, and if they go to the store, there are other shoppers. In every other area of their life, there are multiple people. So if you don't like the service at one cash register, you go to another one. When your one and only partner leaves, or you're having stress or difficulties, things like that, that's the only person that had that level of access to you. So they really are unique in that regard. So when that breakup happens, it feels like all of the wind is taken out of my sails. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I have to offer. And if I could offer more, that this person would have left. Entirely not true.
I didn't.
I mean, the person left for their own reasons, and the fact of who you are. One of the things that to help them to understand their value. When I talk to the person who was broken up with or whatever, I let them know that all of the qualities that they have, the intrinsic qualities, the fact that they're loving, the fact that they're compassionate, they're supportive, all of these things, I tell them, think of all of those qualities that you have as currency, as money, right? You can spend your currency anywhere you want. It just doesn't have to be with Bob, right? So, and just like in different countries, right? Certain currency is valued more in some places than others. Find one that has the best exchange rate for you. I'm sorry, that came, I got away from it. But
it hit home, because it's so true. Because, and back to what we were talking about with the love languages and everything, to go deeper, when you find someone who speaks your language, and that currency exchange becomes even more valuable, because they want that currency, they want what you have, as opposed to you throwing at somebody, hey, Cindy, you're throwing at somebody, and they're like, this is pennies. This ain't worth it. I can get this for $100, but but no, it's so true. You have to understand the value of your currency to and bring it in the right place where it is valued. Because if your currency is not valued where you are, if it's like like a million to one where you are, you have one and that's a million, that's value, your currency is valuable. But if you go somewhere else and it's reverse, it's like people will not treat you with the value and respect that you're due. So I love the analogy of even though you're like how you can change that. I love it because it's so true. Relationships, how you are in a relationship depends on your partner, what they value in a relationship as well. Oh my gosh, our time is being swallowed up. It just started with 7:15 and now it's almost time to wrap. So do you have any closing tips or techniques for anyone who is experiencing right now the loss and feeling not confident, like they can't go out and date anymore or anything like that? Do you have any tips for them?
Yes, I do. A couple things is one, not to believe adages that people say, like, well, just get back on that horse and keep going and stuff like that. Give yourself time. If the relationship that just ended was meaningful, just because you're out of the relationship does not mean that the relationship is out of you. So give yourself some time to be able to grieve and to be sad and to be lonely and all of those things, because you have to work those things through. You have to go through that process. And on the other side of that process, the lonely days, they're not as many anymore. It's not 7 days a week. Now it's 5 days a week. And then it'll start to get better. How weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I help people. I ask people to really take stock of how long is your night. How some people I've seen have tremendous reactions over relatively minor relationships. So it's I'm like,
someone though. What does that say when someone has such a deep reaction to like a 2-month relationship?
Right. So I ask people, it's like, what did you think the relationship was? And I get this answer quite a bit. I thought he was the one. Right. And I'm like, those kinds of things kind of have to be seen in retrospect. After y'all been together like 5 years, like, he really was the one. But, it's, 3 movie dates and 2 dinners, and you're thinking, that it's more. It was enjoyable, but you don't know if he's the one or not. But everyone can't be the one.
Right.
Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. And for goodness sakes, don't put that kind of pressure on somebody else either. Because it's setting up a disappointment. It's setting up, it's like, listen, I know that, I've told people, like when, like if I've gone out with someone or whatever, many years ago, not any time recently, many years ago, and they have like these many moons ago when I was a young man, I would have people have all of these expectations and this emotion, and it's been like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And then they're just hurt if I was late or something. They are just hurt to their heart. I think they thought I was being kind of sarcastic about it, but I really needed them to understand, I don't know you well enough to hurt you that badly. Right. I mean, because that exchange rate that's not real. That's weird. Yeah. You're expecting me to pay for a check someone else ran up. So I let people understand, before you so
good.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Understand what belongs to you, understand what belongs to Bob in the past, understand what belongs to the new person. And the thing is, people don't want to feel like they have to heal you. They're just trying to get to know you.
They're just trying to get to know you.
They're just trying to get to know you. And, it can't be with all of this stuff. Like, here's everything I've ever wanted to do all tonight.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's when you start to look a little bit crazy. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Things build over time. And and the thing is, let yourself build over time too. Some people, because they feel lonely, because they feel hurt, they're fueled by desperation and a need to fill a void. Don't fill a void, grow into a relationship with someone and give yourself a minute. You're worth the wait and the process. You're worth it.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight because we've run out of time, but oh my gosh, this is so good. Thank you so much. And we know you will be back. You are one of our favorite guests. So thank you, Dr. Keiron Brown, for joining us.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
This has been another episode of Audacious Confidence on Dramaniac TV. I hope you enjoyed it. We were really getting going there and ran a little over time. So thank you for sticking with us. But Dr. Keiron Brown is a wealth of knowledge and information when it comes to relationships. And we will have him back on the show. Just let us know that you want to have him back on Dramaniac.com. And if you would like to be a sponsor for our show here on Dramaniac TV, please send us an email at studio@Dramaniac.com and let us know you're interested in sponsoring our shows, and we will get back with you with all the details. So for me here, Alicia Couri, signing off on another episode of Audacious Confidence here on Dramaniac TV. We'd love to say, as always, here on Dramaniac, that you dream big and we make it happen. Thank you so much for joining us. Mwah! Good night, everybody.